Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Ito po muli ang inyong lingkod, Maestro Sunny, nagbabalik para sa isa namang aralin sa Science Grade 4. Pero bago po ang lahat, sana po ay panoorin, i-like at mag-subscribe sa aking YouTube channel. So dadako po tayo sa aralin sa Science Grade 4, Special Properties of Matter. These are the things we needed to know. After going through this lesson, you are expected to be able to first classify materials based on the ability to absorb water. Second, identify materials that float and sink. And describe and classify materials based on the ability to undergo decay. So our lesson for today is the special properties of matter. In this lesson, you will discover the special properties of materials and the changes that will happen when they are exposed to certain conditions. You will learn how to classify materials based on their ability to absorb water, float or sink in water, and undergo decay. So, ito po yung mga pag-aaralan natin sa mga araw na ito. Let us examine the two sets of picture on the next slide. Ano kaya yung mga picture? So, set A, meron po tayo dyan towel. Meron po dyan tissue paper. At meron po dyan sponge. Sa set B, meron po dyan plastic cellophane, meron po dyan kawali, and the other is fork and spoon. So ayan po sila. These are the materials that can be usually found at home. These materials are commonly found at home and are grouped according to their properties. Can you identify the properties or characteristics by which they will be grouped and classified? What can you say about the pictures in set B? Do you think that these materials have the ability to absorb water also? If you place all these materials in water, which materials will have the ability to sink or float in water? So those are the things we would be able to answer by going through this lesson. The properties of matter. Okay, so we have here the animated objects. We have here is the Spongy the sponge, and Gary the glass. They are going to help you learn and explore objects that can absorb water and cannot. So meron po tayong animations. Are you ready? So let us see what are these animations this lesson is talking about. Oh, hello kids! Welcome to the amazing worlds of materials. I am Spongy the sponge. I will share to you the interesting life I have, together with my cousins and friends. So, ayan naman pala. Napakasaya naman si SpongeBob. Siya, ang pangalan niya ay si Spongy the sponge. This is what my body look like. I have lots of small holes called pores that enable the air, water or liquid to pass through me. These pores with connecting fibers allow the liquid or air to soak into my body. I am porous because I have pores all over my body. This makes me absorb as much as water I can. Hence, I am absorbent. Ayun naman pala. Si sponge or si spongy ay may mga pores or mga butas na maliliit. Napakarami. Kung mapapansin nyo sa sponge, marami siyang butas at dun po pala pumapasok o nagpe-penetrate ang air at liquid. Kaya pala si sponge ay ang tawag sa kanya ay porous materials because of the pores all over its body. Na kung saan this makes the sponge absorb as many water as it can. So ayun naman pala, nakakatuwa naman pala si sponge. Si spongy. Hi, I am Chloe Cotton. I am very porous, which make me a natural absorber. Just like spongy sponge, I am an absorbent. My cousin Peter paper and tissue paper will soak themselves in a glass of water. Who do you think will absorb more water? Ayan naman si Chloe Cotton. Very porous din po siya. So, ibig sabihin, cotton can also absorb water. Ayan, nakaka-absorb din siya ng water. At may tanong po siya dito. Kung si Peter paper daw at si tissue nilagay sa glass of water, sino sa kanila ang makaka-absorb ng mas maraming tubig? Okay, so ipagpatuloy natin. Ang saya-saya naman pala. Eto naman pala si paper. I am Peter paper. I made from plant materials. I have fibers which are called cellulose. Water is attracted to me and it likes to be soaked up in my body. I am absorbent as well. Absorbent materials like me are normally seen in objects with a lot of holes that liquid to get inside the materials and occupy the spaces in it. Through capillarity. Capillarity is the special ability of liquid to pass through narrow spaces without the assistance of an external force like gravity. So that is according to Balatpat and De Los Reyes 2015. Ayun naman pala, si paper din ay nag-a-absorb ng water. Kaya naman pala pag nilalagyan ng tubig si paper, mamaya na-absorb na niya lahat ng tubig dahil absorbent din pala siya. Okay. Ito naman si tissue. Ayan naman, patalon-talon pa si tissue. Hi, my name is tissue paper. The same with Peter paper. I am also absorbent as I made from plant materials with lots of fibers. However, my body has more small spaces and loose fibers. When water gets near, it likes to fill my spaces as it follows the water attracted to the cellulose. More spaces allow more water to absorb. That's why I absorb more water than Peter paper. Ayun naman pala, mas marami siyang na-absorb kay Peter paper. So, mas si tissue, mas maraming na-absorb na water than kay Peter paper. Ayun. So, malinaw na po yung tanong kanina. Ang mas maraming na-absorb na water ay si tissue. So, those materials can all absorb water. To know immediately which is more absorbent material is through measuring the weight of the dry material, then measuring it again after it has been soaked in liquid. Then subtract the weight of dry materials with the soaked materials. Ayan, para daw malaman kung sino ang mas maraming nasipsip or na-absorb na tubig, kailangan ma-measure ang kanilang weight. So, i-measure muna yung weight o yung bigat niya pag wala pa siyang na-absorb na tubig. Then, tsaka i-measure ulit pag may na-absorb na tubig, then isusubtract yung weight ng meron ng liquid dun sa wala pang liquid. Eto naman, sino naman to? Okay, pagpatuloy natin, let us continue. Hi, I am Gary Glass. Unlike my friends, Spongy Sponge, Peter Paper, and Tissue Paper, I cannot absorb water. So, hindi daw siya nakaka-absorb ng water. I am non-porous. Look at my body structure. My body is compact. It does not allow much air to flow and it does not absorb water. Hence, I am not absorbent. So, hindi siya nakaka-absorb ng water pero nakaka-hold siya ng water sa loob kasi yung structure niya ay compact. It does not allow water to pass through. And how about this one? Oh, si cellophane. Hello, I am Celso Cellophane. I am common in the plastic family. So, siya ay plastic daw. I am lightweight and flexible. Water is repelled by me and I cannot absorb it. That's why I am also non-absorbent like Gary Glass. Ayun naman pala, magkapareho sila ni Gary Glass. Hindi sila nag-absorb but they can hold water. Or hindi nauubos kapag kinargahan sila ng tubig, hindi nauubos or hindi nawawala kasi naho-hold nila yung tubig or yung water. Okay, now, what can you say about the animated objects? Tama, some of them can absorb water. What are those materials that can absorb water? Si Spongy the Sponge, si Peter Paper, at si Tissue. At sino naman yung hindi? Si Gary Glass at si Celso Cellophane. Ayun naman pala. And those materials that have the ability to absorb and repel water. Now, porosity is the property of material to absorb liquid like water. Porous materials have plenty of spaces or holes called pores where liquid can be quickly absorbed. The ability of materials to absorb water is due to the presence of loose fibers with lots of pores or holes between the particles that make up the materials. In sponge, for example, these holes are pores or pores absorb water, making the sponge swell. When you are cooking, you make sure that materials are clean before using them. When you squeeze the sponge, you are forcing the water or liquid cleanser out of the holes that cleans the surface of the dishes, glasses, or spoon that you use in cooking. So, ginagamit natin si sponge, yung water na naiipon sa kanya, na ina-absorb niya, ay those can clean the utensils na ginagamit natin to cook food. Other materials that absorb water like tissue paper, cotton, and cloth are called porous materials. These materials can easily undergo decay. This happens because the presence of water or moist in the materials can cause degradation of the materials due to the presence of microorganisms that harbors or pile up in the materials. So sila daw po ay nag-undergo decay. Materials like plastic, on the other hand, like metal spoons and forks, porcelains, cups, iron nails, aluminum cookwares, and glasses that you use at home do not absorb water or liquid. Hence, they are called non-porous materials. There are no holes or spaces between their particles. So, ayan. Hindi sila nag-absorb but they can hold water in them. Okay. Look at the pictures on the next slide. Can you identify which materials have the ability to absorb water, float, or sink in water, or will undergo decay? So, alin sa kanila ang nag-a-absorb, nag-float, at nagsisink or nag-a-undergo ng decay? So, alin po dyan? So, yun yung cloth, yun yung apple, may avocado, may shoes, may whistle or pito, and pencil. So, alin sa kanila, which of these materials will absorb water, will undergo decay, will sink, or will float? The ability of materials to sink or float in water depends on their density. Density is the amount of mass of an object per unit volume. Water has density of 1 grams per cc or cubic centimeter. If the density of an object is higher than the density of water, that object will sink in water. So, pag mas mabigat dun sa density ng water, ibig sabihin, it will sink. But if the density of the object is less than the density of water, the object will float in water. Different materials have different densities. For example, gold will sink in water because its density of 19.3 grams per cubic centimeter is higher than the density of water, which is 1 grams per cubic centimeter. Ayan. So, pag mas mabigat, ibig sabihin, magsisink siya. Examine the picture of ice cubes. What do you think will happen if the ice cubes will place them in water? If you place them in water, ano mangyayari? Subukan nga. Again, the density of an object determines whether it will float or sink in water. An object will float if it's less dense than the liquid is its place in. An object will sink if it is denser than the liquid it is placed in. So, yung pag nilagay mo, kung mas mabigat siya dun sa liquid na pinaglagyan mo, ibig sabihin, magpa-float siya. But if mas magaan siya dun sa liquid na pinaglagyan mo, ibig sabihin, magsisink. Like this one. Noodle cups. Then the other one, the ship, and yung isa ay bell. Alin kaya dyan ang magsisink? Tama, syempre yung bell. Talaga naman yung ship or yung barko, kahit mas malaki yan, meron siyang mga special characteristics kung bakit siya nagpo-float. We will study it later. The boat on the picture keeps itself afloat. The tendency of an object like boat to float in the liquid is called buoyancy. Ayun, yun yung special characteristic ng boat. Meron siyang tendency to float. Because of the thrust, it makes up the ship or boat to float in the ocean. The upthrust is the force which is responsible in making an object float or sink in the liquid. It is a push that always goes straight up against the direction of the gravity. So, yan, kung makikita po natin sa picture, may mga arrow na pataas. So, yun yung force against gravity that makes up the boat float. What about those use styro cup or noodle? A ship and a metal bell. Will they sink or float in water? Let us discover more about these abilities of materials to absorb water, float or sink, and undergo decay in the different activities designed for you. Ayan, may mga activities. We're going to do those activities. Remember that absorb means to take in natural or gradual way. Repel means to push back or move away. Porosity is the property of materials that lets it absorb water and other liquids. Capillarity, on the other hand, is the special ability of liquid to pass through narrow spaces without the assistance of external force like gravity. That is according to Balatbat and De Los Reyes. Materials are normally seen in objects with a lot of holes that liquid to get inside the materials and occupy the space in it through capillarity. Meanwhile, the non-porous materials are the materials that do not allow air or water to pass through. Another, density is the amount of matter present in a given volume of substance. It is the degree of compactness of an object. On the other hand is the tendency of an object to float in liquid. It is the upthrust of the force or the force that pushes an object up, opposing the weight of an object immersed in water or any liquid. It is a push that always goes straight up against the direction of the gravity. Float means to stay on the surface of the liquid such as in water. Sink means to go down below or to the bottom of the surface of the liquid such as water. Density of an object determines whether it will float or sink in the water. An object will float if it is less dense than the liquid it is placed in, and the object will sink if it is denser than the liquid it is placed in. Another one, the last one, decay means to be slowly destroyed into bits in the presence of water, air, and soil. So yun, yung nagde-decompose. Like what? Vegetable peelings. What else? Paper can also decompose. Wood can also decompose. Yes, they can be broken down into smaller pieces. So, magiging by means of decomposition. So, let us study and analyze this. We have here learning task number 1, float versus sink. So, we have to classify the materials shown in the picture, whether they float or sink. Write the name of the object in the appropriate column. So, alin po dyan ang nag-float at nagsisink. So, the first, marble, nails, floater, coin, stone, leaves, ball, glass, cellophane, and plastic cups. So, ilalagay po dyan, will it float or will it sink? So, alin that float? Cellophane, leaves, floater, plastic cup, and ball. And the materials that sink are marbles, nail, stone, coin, and glass. With the partner, identify whether the following materials are biodegradable or non-biodegradable. Classify them in the proper trash bin. So, isa-segregate po natin sila. Which are biodegradable. Ano naman ulit pag biodegradable? Okay, yung mga nabubulok. At non-biodegradable are those hindi nabubulok. Tama. So, alin kaya dyan? So, ito po sila. Biodegradable materials include leaves, animal waste, and food wastes. And non-biodegradable materials include glass, metal, plastic bag, rubber tires, and bottle. So with this, our references for this lesson includes Science Grade 4, Pivot 4A, Calabarzon Learners Material, First Quarter and First Edition 2020. We have Abutay et al. 2015, Balatbat et al. The New Science Link for Boldy, W, K, J.A. and Jesse, Transition, Melting, and Subliming, and another, Magbanwa. Then another, Natividad, Rojas, and Papa. So, compilation of Enhanced Daily Lesson Log in Science Grade 4, STO Cabuyao City. So, with this, with all, thank you very much for watching and listening.